In this video, I am joined by a fantastic panel. We got Marianne, we got George. We are talking all about our favorite Disney artists, animators. We're also going to talk about our favorite Imagineers. A fantastic conversation today to be had. We have George, we have Marianne in the house up next on OG 50. Welcome aboard to another episode of Orange Grove 55. I have a fantastic panel today. Before I'm going to introduce my panel, and then we'll dive into the topics at hand. George, the Italiano, welcome back, sir.
Thanks for having me back. Glad to be on, and always a good time talking shop.
All right, perfect. And if you could let everybody at home know where they can find you on social media.
Absolutely. You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You could also find me on Instagram under the Disney Italiano. And of course, you'll find me here on my home base at Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info.
There it is. And down below, we have the lovely Marianne. Welcome back.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be back on again so soon.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We love having you. If you could let everybody at home know where they can find you on social media.
You can find me on Twitter at the Girly Nerd and on Instagram at the Girly Nerd blog.
Perfect. And I'll be linking all her social medias in the description down below. Make sure you give her a follow and support Marianne. So let's go ahead and dive in. Let's talk about Disney artists. So that could apply to anything. They can apply animators, ink and paint, whatever your favorite is. We'll talk about it. We'll go over a bunch of different favorites because there's so many within the span of 100 years. George, I'll start with you. Disney artists. Which artist stands out for you in particular that you kind of have a bias for?
So I have a funny feeling that between our artists and our Imagineers, I think we're going to be kind of on the same note here. Yeah. But one of my favorite artists that did tremendous work on one of my favorite Disney animated films, especially with the background set pieces, is Ivan Earl.
Oh,
and when he did the backdrops for Sleeping Beauty, they kind of had this medieval goth style, but you don't really see a lot of that kind of animation that was really ever used again in Disney animation. I feel like that Sleeping Beauty was kind of like a one and done, but I mean that in a very good way. Because the animation and art style was very unique for its time. I mean, you look at that film today, and it's so crisp and so clean that you would never think that movie was made in the 1950s.
I thought you were going to go with "Fresh and So Clean," like the Outkast song. You're that close, George. You're that close.
Real close.
But Ivan Earl, great pick. Marianne, any thoughts on George's first pick?
Well, I completely agree with him. Ivan Earl has the most beautiful art. Sleeping Beauty is one of my favorite Disney animated movies for that very reason. I think the backgrounds of that movie are just gorgeous. I mean, every single frame looks like you could frame it in your house. It's such a work of art. And I was actually lucky enough in, what year was it? 2017. I went to the Walt Disney Family Museum, and they always have a special exhibition there. And at that time, it was all Ivan Earl's artwork. So it was incredible. So there was this Disney artwork, which is, Sleeping Beauty and whatnot. But there was also just his regular artwork of nature and things like that. And it's just gorgeous, gorgeous stuff.
Yeah, well said. Yeah, I love the work on Sleeping Beauty, and you guys are right. It's that they've never really done that style ever again. And it's like I'm kind of torn on it, right? Because I kind of want them to dip into that style again, but then I kind of don't, because like let's keep it specific for Sleeping Beauty. But it's just such a beautiful style. Like Marianne, like what you were saying, like each frame you could literally take each frame and put it on your wall. It's absolutely breathtaking, you know. So my choice for my favorite Disney artists, actually, well, one of my favorites. There's so many, but when I was growing up, I wanted to be a Disney animator. You know, I grew up, I was like, I think I was like 11 or 12 around the time of the Renaissance era. And I really took a liking to all those movies. And a big part of the Disney Renaissance was an animator, supervising animator, Glenn Keane.
Glenn Keane. I knew it. I knew you're gonna choose Glenn Keane.
I love Glenn Keane. Look, two characters that he created, Ariel and the Beast. Okay, absolutely incredible. Ariel's an amazing character who he modeled after his daughter, I believe. And the Beast was such an incredible feat, though. Like, how do you create a character that's supposed to be scary, but then something that you can believe that Belle could actually fall in love with it? And I think Glenn's work in creating that like perfect kind of blend of like a scary character, but yet he's so lovable too. You want to hug him. Genius work. I mean, like dang near impossible almost, but he pulled it off. Like, you know, I have a huge amount of respect for Glenn Keane. Also, Tangled, Rapunzel is also Glenn Keane. So he definitely, I don't know, he's up there for me. What are your thoughts on Glenn Keane, Marianne?
Well, we're exactly the same because
Okay.
he's my Disney artist.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, you know, growing up, it's funny. I think it was because like there was always like making of movies and things like that. So he was one of the first Disney artists I feel like I knew who he was.
That's
And
true.
yeah, and he obviously was chosen to do these important characters because he's so immensely talented. And he's also, I know this from personal experience, he's also a wonderful human being. So so I have two stories with Glenn Keane. So years ago, I used to go to my dad and I used to go to Comic-Con here in San Diego all the time. And I was off doing something else. I don't know why I wasn't with him, but he went to an animator panel and Glenn Keane was there. And, you know, it was obviously incredible listening to them. But afterwards, you know, people were walking up to him, like getting autographs and stuff. And my dad just sort of like held back a little bit and waited to be like last.
Yeah.
And my dad worked with someone that Glenn Keane knew. She handled his like contracts. So she would like go to his house and wait for him to be done reading it and take him back. And he's like, so do you remember, you know, I'm not going to say her name, but do you remember so-and-so? And he goes, oh yeah, how is she? That's wonderful. You know, I miss her. And the second he said that, he started drawing a little quick sketch of the Beast. And then he gave it to my dad.
Oh,
wow.
That's amazing.
So I have it here to show.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I would die. I would absolutely die. That's incredible, Mary.
When I found that out, I'm like, what was I doing? I don't even remember what I was doing, you know, instead of going to that because I was like so jealous. But
that's incredible.
But I got my own sort of experience too with him. So in 2010, when they were doing Tangled, I got a few opportunities to do like interviews with some of the people around the movie. And he was one of them. So I got to do a phone interview with him, talking about the film and talking about, you know, his life and stuff. And he's just the most incredible, humble, sweet man. And, you know, they always say, don't meet your heroes.
Yeah.
But in his case, it's okay because he's just so kind and, you know, sometimes it's like it's unfair that you're that talented and then you're that kind too.
Right. Now let me ask you a question because you said I've heard that too. Don't ever meet your heroes. Mm-hmm. Now you met him and he was a really nice guy, a great guy. Did it actually make you appreciate him more so after meeting him?
Oh, completely, yeah. Because you know he shared personal stories about himself and his experiences making the movie. Like at first he was going to direct Tangled, and then he said he had a heart attack, so he couldn't do it anymore, but he was still like very heavily involved. And he talked about his faith and how it affects everything he does in his life, and that he talked about his daughter. He was, as I was interviewing him, he says, "Well, right now I'm babysitting my granddaughter,
Oh,
and which is sweet." And yeah, and of course it made me appreciate him more because he just was so personable and nice and treated me with respect and stuff. You know, sometimes people don't do that in Hollywood, but
right.
and so I always forget to tell people that I have a YouTube channel, because I put like there's like nothing on it hardly, but I was able to record that audio and I put it on my YouTube channel if anyone wants to listen to it.
Awesome. Yeah, send me yeah, send me the link and I'll put it in the description down below so people can check that out. That's awesome.
Sure. Yeah.
That's awesome, Marianne. And now, okay, so Glen Keane's one of your favorites. Now, since I kind of stole one of your favorites, what's another artist at Disney that you absolutely love and adore?
Mary Blair.
Oh, see, now you stole mine.
That was actually going to be my next one.
Mary Blair. Okay, go ahead. Very great choice. Absolutely great choice.
I just love her style. It's so adorable and cute and completely unique. And you know, she's responsible for some of the art of my favorite movies. You know, like Cinderella and Alice in Wonderland, and my favorite. I always say like I have a 3-way tie for my favorite rides at Disneyland, and one of them is It's a Small World. So, and you know, she was so involved in creating all the artwork and the designs and the dolls and stuff on It's a Small World. And I couldn't I'm in the process of moving, so I packed away my books of hers, but I have several like Mary Blair books and stuff. And I was looking up perhaps you got to see it. When was it? 2019 I went to the what's it called? Hilbert Museum by Chapman University, and there was a special exhibition of her artwork there. Nice. So you didn't get a chance to see it?
I never got a chance to see it. No, yeah, I wish I would have.
Yeah. I have I have pictures and stuff like on my Instagram of it.
Nice. Yeah, Mary Blair is an amazing artist. I mean, and Walt Disney, he absolutely loved and respected her. Like, you know, I mean, it was amazing what she could do. And you're right, the movies that she was involved in, Alice in Wonderland, Peter Pan, they have that Mary Blair fingerprint to them. You know, the colors are just so vibrant in those films, and that's one of the big reasons why I love. We actually we did a video earlier with Cordy in California, and right, George, she was saying how Alice is like her favorite movie, and I was like, yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's like my all-time favorite, but it's up there for me because it just has that feel-good energy to that film, and a lot of that comes from that Mary Blair influence, you know. So she's an amazing artist, and what she did with Small World is a whole nother ball game, you know. That's another thing. So an incredible human being, absolutely. George, what are your thoughts on Mary Blair?
Yeah, she was actually my next pick. I love the type of art style where you can look at it, and especially like with Disney geeks like us, that we could like pinpoint, say, oh, that's a Mary Blair piece, that's an Ivan Earl piece for sure. Like, it's like she had such a unique style that honestly cannot be duplicated. It has not been replicated in my knowledge in any kind of art style since the mural that she had painted in the Contemporary Resort at Walt Disney World. That gigantic mural, I mean, is so beautiful. The detail in it, and of course you have the 3-legged goat in there, the notorious 3-legged goat. But that was just her style, and then her work on It's a Small World, and it's just it screams Mary Blair. And again, it's something that you were saying, OG, about like with the style with Sleeping Beauty with Ivan Earl. It's like you want to see more of that, but do you really want to see someone else kind of take over that? Because it seems like that was Mary Blair's thing. That was her style, you know, and it's great. And then kind of going back a little bit to with Glenn Keane, I knew that was going to be your first pick, OG. Because I honestly, because I absolutely love how he kind of puts what a lot of animators do is they put a lot of themselves into these characters.
Right.
You know, they are basically acting for the character, because even though that you have voice actors that are voicing it, but these animators have to create literally what you're visually seeing. And when you have a brilliant genius mind like Howard Ashman, who basically created the format for The Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast, and then you have a person like Glenn Keane that's taking his vision and creating these two beloved characters that literally was part of Howard Ashman's tribute. Was, you know, our friend Howard, who gave a mermaid her voice and a beast his soul. Like, I mean, that is like, you can't, every time I even say that quote, like I literally, the hairs stand up on my arms.
Same here. Same here. And that's a great point, George. I never really thought of it that way, because I'm a huge Howard Ashman fan. I love what that man did. He is, I cannot give him enough credit for what he did for Disney and just cinema in general, you know, and music and everything. But you're right. His tribute are the two characters that Glenn Keane created. That's incredible. That's absolutely incredible. Love that. It's beautiful. So George, who's your next artist?
So my next artist is an animator. Now the reason why he is on my list is because of of the challenge that he had to utilize to actually work with a particular actor. And because this is something that I feel like was never done again in the history of Disney animation, is actually Eric Goldberg.
Oh, interesting. And he's still around, actually. He works.
Is. Yeah, he's still around. He does like a lot of classes and everything, and he does some projects at the studios from time to time. I had the pleasure of meeting him once at the D23 Expo, on the Expo showroom floor. He was walking around the different exhibits and everything, and I thought, well, you know what, he's there, I'm there, I'll just go up and say hi, you know. But for me, of why he is on my list is not only did he was the animation lead for Phil in Hercules, and actually one of the directors for Pocahontas, but he had the brilliant task of creating the genie in Aladdin, and got to heavily put Robin Williams' heart and soul into this character. That you see this kind of whimsical, funny, slapstick type of person, or character, I should say, but you can like look at the genie and you can say, you know what, that is all Robin. And I love how Eric incorporated that into the character rather than putting the character into the actor, so to speak.
And I love the style of the genie. I forgot. I am so sorry. I forgot the artist's name where he drew the inspiration for the style. That kind of that very curvy style of the genie, very simplistic, you know, style. But I think that he was brilliant in adopting that style for a character like the genie. You know, because the curvy nature of like his body and the way his hands and arms are, it kind of flows with like what, you know, with the smoke coming out of the lamp, and it all kind of just works really, really well. I love what he did with the genie. And then you take, like you said, George, you take Robin Williams. I mean, unbelievable talent, brilliant guy, and you have him voice it. It's just, oh my God, home run, absolute home run. What are your thoughts on Eric Goldberg, Marianne?
Yeah, he's incredible. I didn't write him down, but I should have. I mean, it's like the marriage of his animation with Robin Williams was just, you know, like a match made in heaven. And I know they always record it and then they animate it afterwards. So he had a lot to do with all the way he improvised. But it just made it even funnier. It's just the way he did it. And I love like when he's doing like impressions of other people, then he would, morph into the faces of those actors or something, like Jack Nicholson
Right.
and that's just I mean that's just incredible and yeah, very talented guy. I forgot that so he was like a co-director on Pocahontas. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Uh, I'm one of the few people who loves that movie.
I
Some
actually enjoy the
like
movie.
it.
I actually enjoy the movie. For what it is, and again, like that animation style, like
Mhm.
you kind of like pinpoint how you could look at Pocahontas, you could look at a movie like Mulan, and it's like you can't get those movies back again, unfortunately. And it's like I would love to see that happen, and it feels like the last crisp animated film that actually gave that notion was actually for me was The Princess and the Frog. It seems like after
Interesting.
that the 2D animation feel kind of just like whatever that they utilized, it was like whimsical and everything, sort of like how they did with like for Once Upon a Studio and everything, where they added the 2D and the 3D elements to it. But as far as like a full length feature film, The Princess and the Frog kind of like was that door shut closing on that style. And I do hope they reopen that door up again, even if they use using computer technology techniques, but still allow the animator to do the heavy lifting with the 2D animation style.
Yeah, even if they like what you're saying, like you're right. Even if it's computer, but they mimic that style, right?
Yes.
Like obviously, I think we're kind of beyond the point of like hand painted cells and stuff like that. It's never coming back, But if we can at least get it hand drawn, and maybe we can paint it digitally, and we can compromise here. You know what I'm saying? I think that would be pretty cool.
Yep. Now I do have one more animator, but I know you guys are up, and I'm curious to see if somebody takes it.
Okay, well we'll see. My next one is Ward Kimball. Ward Kimball. I love this guy. Well, first of all, he created Jiminy Cricket, and Jiminy Cricket is and I know George, you have a soft spot for that character. Fantastic character. And he got, I feel, what was it? His soup scene, right? In Snow White.
Yes, he worked on that like tirelessly, day in and day out, and it killed Walt to have to tell him that it had to be cut. But Walt knew he had a backup plan, and he said like immediately, but because I have to cut this, you get to design a character from Pinocchio, which was Jiminy Cricket. So
yeah, I love him. I think obviously he's brilliant, one of the 9 old men, but even his personality, he had such a flair to him, such a like this aggressive kind of like weirdness that was just so addicting. I thought he was brilliant. He's an amazing talent. What are your thoughts on Ward Kimball, Marianne?
Yeah, I love Ward Kimball. Yeah. I sometimes I have trouble remembering who did what character, but thank you for reminding me that he did Jiminy Cricket.
Yes.
Yeah, I love Jiminy Cricket, and it's funny. I just remember like him and his personality, and seeing him on all those old what was it called? Walt Disney Presents or The Wonderful World of Color that they would just show him on they would show him on the Disney Channel, and I would watch those all the time. And was he part of the Firehouse?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he was. So that's another thing you can add to his list.
Yeah.
He was a musician as well, know. Amazing guy. And we actually have a train out here in Disneyland named after him, rightfully so. But yeah, he's absolutely awesome. I'm a huge Ward Kimball guy. But who's your next artist, Marianne?
I did like a pairing because I feel like they're always associated with each other. Frank Thomas and Ollie Johnston.
Oh, nice. Yes. You can't have a conversation about Disney animation without those two.
And that is actually rarely true. I have yet to hear a conversation where it's just you mentioned just Frank Thomas and Ollie Johnston. Like you have to say Frank and Ollie. Like it was like they are the dynamic duo.
Yeah. Oh, incredible.
I love that. Have you watched the documentary about them? I love that. Yeah.
Yes, I do.
It's just so sweet and endearing, and the fact that they ended up living right next door to each other and seeing each other every day when they take their dogs out for walks, and I always like, it's like, of course they're wonderful artists, but it's nice getting to know the person as well. And when they're great people, it just makes you like them even more, for obvious reasons. And they were just, they're so like old school and fun, and just fun personalities, and the way they would animate is just really kind of inspiring and stuff. And I didn't want to be an animator when I was little, but I always liked drawing and stuff. My father is an artist, so I inherited a little bit of his talent. not just a little bit. I'm not nearly as good as this, but I would always draw like Disney characters. So I liked learning about all the animators and stuff. And yeah.
Nice. What are your thoughts on Frank and Ollie, George?
Yeah, I absolutely love them. I as Marianne was mentioning, it's like I love how they kind of worked off of each other, and it showed in their work. It showed in the characters that they were creating, that it was a not even just the craft of worksmanship, but also of friendship,
Right.
and it came through. And I just thought that's just something like lifelong best friends, that grew up knowing each other. They became animators, worked in the same studio, eventually lived next door to each other. They basically like knew each other their whole lives. And I think that is sometimes their personal story is worth more than just their talents as animators.
Yeah, such an endearing friendship, those two. I mean, the family, basically. Those two were family,
Yeah.
and they were just so adorable. Whenever you hear them interviewed and stuff, how do you not love those two guys, So, and
Just like
actually,
warm and fuzzy feelings.
oh, totally. And
Yeah.
when I was a kid, I still have the book actually, but they created the animation Bible, so to speak. I think it was in the early '90s. It's a massive book about everything you need to know about animation, and I still have that book. It's absolutely like no joke. It is the animation Bible. I mean, everything in there. It's an incredible book. But I don't even know if they still sell it. I thought I saw it at Off the Page at DCA years ago. I don't know if they still have it, but if you want it, you could probably get it like on Amazon or eBay or something. It's a hefty book though. I mean, that thing is like it's thick. It's very thick. But George, who's your next artist?
So we're on this train track. OG, you mentioned Ward Kimball, one of the nine old men. Marianne, you mentioned Frank Thomas and Ollie Johnston. So mine is also part of the nine old men, and it is Mark Davis.
Oh, you can't go wrong with Mark. Okay, go ahead.
And Mark Davis, he was a he was an interesting character, because it seemed like when he did like interviews and he was in front of the camera kind of discussing his work, he was a very kind of sharp, knowing his craft to discussing what he was talking about. But it was like when he was doing his work, he had a lot of that funny comedic wit to him, and it also incorporated when he started working into the Disneyland theme park attractions as well.
Right.
And because you could you go into an attraction and you kind of see something that's kind of funny or quirky, and you just go, oh, that was Davis, and it's like, and then his wife Alice Davis, bless her heart, I actually got the opportunity to meet her a few times. Worked as a costume designer, for It's a Small World and Pirates of the Caribbean. So, but as far as an animator goes, Mark Davis was known as the champion of drawing female characters. He drew Aurora. He drew Tinkerbell, and he's part of my list because he drew I think the best Disney villain that could ever have come out of conception, and that is the cruel but elegant Maleficent.
Yeah. Oh, he's so good. And Tinkerbell too. What a cute character,
And it's like when you look at those characters and you say he drew Aurora, he drew Tinkerbell, and it's like you see those two characters, but then you look at characters like Cruella de Vil and Maleficent. It's like, okay, all this was done by the same animator. It's like that's amazing.
It's amazing. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts, Marianne?
Well, now I'm reminding me of which characters he drew. Obviously, I love him. Tinkerbell's fun. Because she has so much sass.
Yes.
I love a sassy character. And you know, it's funny. People say Disney princesses are kind of bland, but I don't really think so.
I would
Even
agree.
even Aurora is she has, you know, she has her cute moments and stuff, and I love how stylized. Well, that the whole movie of that is so stylized, and she's so like angular and not realistic, but it's beautiful and stuff. And now I'm trying to remember, did he do stuff on Pirates of the Caribbean as well?
Oh yeah.
He did.
Yeah, I thought
Yep.
so. Thought so. Yeah, he's
Yep.
incredible. Yeah, all those. God, you could stay here, you know, talk forever about all these people because there's so many wonderful ones.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. My next artist is gonna be Fred Moore. Fred Moore. He created. He's kind of known for the creation of the Disney female look, so to speak. You know, he did a lot of work like on Fantasia, that kind of Disney style with the females. A lot of great. He kind of had almost like a pinup girl style, you know, but he kind of made it his own and Disneyfied it, obviously. But I think he's a brilliant man. And also, I believe he was involved in the redesign of Mickey Mouse in Fantasia. So with the new eyes, and you know, because Mickey before Fantasia, Mickey had like the little just the black dots. After Fantasia, he had the pupils and the white. You know, so yeah, Fred Moore is definitely up there for me. I thought he was absolutely brilliant. What are your thoughts on Mr. Freddie Moore, George?
Yeah, when you take animators that not only have a particular style, but they also change the revolution of animation, so to speak, as it continues, you know, through the many decades of Disney animation. You know, they solidify their place in not even just in Disney animation, but just the history of the Walt Disney Company in general.
Right.
And Fred Moore is definitely one of those people, as you said, that, you know, he created a new foundation for basically the mascot of the company, the headliner, you know, the big cheese himself, you know.
Yeah.
And it's like moving forward, you know, they kept that kind of style moving forward from his start style. So yeah, great choice, great pick.
Yeah, no, I loved his work. What are your thoughts on Fred Moore, Marianne?
Well, you stumped me. I've never heard that name before, actually.
Interesting.
I'm surprised I haven't, but now knowing what he did, obviously I love his work. Fantasia's such a special, unique movie, and now so he designed like you said he sort of designed or championed sort of the way they would design female characters. I'm remembering a one of those package movies with this one sequence, and I'm wondering if he did work on that one. What was it called? Let me think for a second. I don't remember which movie it was, but it was the one. It was like a Benny Goodman song, and they were like dancing and stuff.
Was it Make Mine Music or Fun and Fancy Free? One of those.
It was one of those. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I believe,
or Melody Time. It might have been that.
It might have been that. Yeah. But yeah, the style of the females in those it's all Fred Moore. I mean, it's
then
amazing.
I love it. I love it. Yeah.
It's great. It's a great style.
Yeah. I love that sort of 1940. Yeah, I like that 1940s sort of 1950s sort of pinup looking style. It's very cute. Very cute.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Marianne, what's another one of your favorite artists?
Let me see. What did I write down? Herb Ryman.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Mostly because of the famous sketch of the Disneyland that he did.
Oh, exactly.
Just for that alone.
Yeah.
And he did that fairly quickly, if I remember correctly.
And then he did it backwards, right, or something. And Walt was like, "Oh, it." The castle. I mean, that's amazing.
Basically the castle. When you see Sleeping Beauty Castle, the front is the back and the back is the front, and that is like that. That was very clever.
But it looks right. It looks right when you're looking at it.
It does. I think Walt had a good eye for that. He was like, you know what? Yeah, it's backwards, but this actually looks better, and he's right about it. You know, who are we to argue with Walt, right? You know, I mean, yeah, he absolutely killed. That's a great pick, Marianne. Absolutely great pick. Let's I think I cycled through everybody a few times now. Let's pivot now to our favorite Imagineer, or our favorite Imagineers with an S. George, I will start with you. Who is one of your favorite Imagineers?
Well, this Imagineer is probably, I would think, possibly on all our lists. So I'll probably just have to crack this egg right now. Mine is on the top list is Joe Rohde.
Of course.
Obviously, it's just his approach to everything of bringing stylized storytelling into theme park attractions, into lands, and into theme parks in general. It's he could take something and something that you would think that wouldn't work, and we had touched upon this with our conversation with Jay Shear,
right?
That you could take something as simple as reworking the Tower of Terror and transforming it into Guardians of the Galaxy, and yet he can make it work. You can,
and he's the only person that could have done that. By the way,
only person. Yeah. I don't think any. I'm not saying that other Imagineers aren't as swift and talented, but no, I think honestly, Rohde is the only one that could have made it work. Taking a land like Pandora, you're taking a movie that was very successful, but in time it kind of like lost its pace, and he had to revitalize that by infusing it into a theme park space and not even knowing how to get the world of Pandora into Animal Kingdom. So that in itself was an incredible feat. Just the creation of Animal Kingdom itself, the outdoor nature, organic style of conservation with the animals and the greenery and everything. Because Animal Kingdom is honestly, out of the 4 parks of Walt Disney World, it's my favorite theme park because of that style of what Joe Rohde created, because you will never get another theme park like that, I believe, ever again.
I was so impressed with Animal Kingdom. I couldn't believe how much I love that place. It felt so different from the minute you walk into that park. It felt so different than anything else you've ever been to. You know, like you go to Hollywood Studios, which actually I did like. I enjoyed Hollywood Studios, but it's a theme park. You walk in, it's a theme park. You know what I'm saying? Animal Kingdom didn't even feel like a theme park. I mean, it was surreal, absolutely surreal, and you felt like you were in Asia. Like you go through these, you know, these little walkways and stuff, and the buildings are like weathered, and they got like Thai writing on them and stuff. It just looks so super authentic. I wish you know, for Animal Kingdom alone, I wish I was a local, because I'd be there all the time. I really would. But Joe Rohde is an absolute legend. Now, where does his earring rank on your list?
Which is actually funny, because now that he is actually to become a Disney legend, this year at D23, he was trying to figure out a way that like when they put their hands in the cement, that he's trying to figure out a way how to incorporate the earrings. So
yeah, no, he's great.
We'll be curious to see how he does it.
And you know, I'm so happy that he is back at Imagineering. I know he's doing those master classes. Hopefully we hear more at D23. Maybe they'll expand his role there. Hopefully they do. But just glad to have him back in the building. But Marianne, Joe Rohde, I mean, What are your thoughts?
Such a fun, creative guy. And it's funny though, like I've seen videos and stuff, but a lot of his stuff is things I haven't personally experienced. Because right. I've never been to Disney World. I want to go, obviously, very much. And so I never went on Tower of Terror. I've never been on Mission Breakout, because I know I would not be able to handle a ride like that.
You and me both, Marianne. We can wait in the gift shop for George.
Yeah, exactly. We'll just go on a bench somewhere while they ride it, because I'm like, I don't want to go on the drop ride. I'm sorry. Yeah. But it looks fun, but I just know I personally could not handle that. But I can't wait to go to Animal Kingdom someday. It looks incredible. I mean, San Diego is known for having, you know, the zoo and the wild animal park, which obviously are incredible, but I'm sure that it's just a whole other ball game.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's a whole nother ball game. And honestly, I was surprised at how different it felt, because I'm all in this Disney fandom thing, like really hardcore. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. I've seen a bunch of videos, endless videos on this place, and I knew what I was. I mean, I knew going in what it looked like and everything, but it just feels different in person. I just can't even pinpoint. It was just something so surreal. An incredible experience.
Yeah. Everything's always different in person. It's like nothing can prepare you. No amount of videos or pictures or anything could ever duplicate what it feels to be actually there. I mean, it's off topic, but I experienced that when I finally went on Rise of the Resistance. Yeah. I've seen so many videos and I'm like, oh, wow, these videos are great, but they don't do it justice.
Yeah. Oh, no, it doesn't. You got to be there. You got to be there, you know? So my choice for Imagineer, and I'm sure one of you have him on your list. It's the one and only Tony Baxter.
Of course.
Tony, yes. You know what I'm saying? And not to be confused by Tony's at the Magic Kingdom. That's not the good Tony.
Yes.
Tony Baxter's the good Tony. No, but Tony Baxter is an amazing person. I mean, he is such a creative genius. Really, he is a genius. Absolutely. What he did with Indiana Jones Adventure here at Disneyland, nothing short of a miracle. That ride is a masterpiece. You know, I know it's controversial, but I mean, you know, Splash Mountain for a log flume ride and what he was able to accomplish with that ride, huge. You know what I'm saying? You know, I think his work, Big Thunder, obviously you can't forget Big Thunder. His work, it's just hit after hit after hit. I think the only blemish on his record is Tomorrowland 98. That's a blemish, but hey, you know what? I'm going to give Tony a pass on that one because there was a lot of executive kind of BS going on with that kind of hindered his creativity. There was a lot of cheapness going on around that time period. So I kind of give him a pass on that, but for the most part, Tony hits home run after home run. I wish he would come back too. Hey, we got Bruce Vaughn back. We got Joe Rohde. Come on, Tony, get back in the building. Let's get the band back together, you know? But what are your thoughts, George? Tony Baxter.
I mean, just the name alone just screams like a brilliant person inside and out as an Imagineer, as a Disney legend. It's the history around him is like with all these iconic attractions that he was part of, even the attraction which essentially became Big Thunder, right. The Western River Expedition, which a lot of people wish that actually did come to fruition. Unfortunately, it didn't. But Indiana Jones, my favorite ride in Disneyland Park. He was just a mastermind. Like, you have great talent in WDI, you know, there's many Imagineers and they all have to do their parts, you know, but there are certain Imagineers that just kind of stand out above the rest, and he is definitely one of them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I heard his house is actually amazing too. Like it's like themed, you know, to some degree.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
which actually my next Imagineer has something special to their house, which I will explain once it comes back to me. But
absolutely. Marianne, favorite Imagineer?
Yeah, he's probably my favorite. If I think about the rides that he did, we've talked about this, that I can only handle a certain amount of thrill with like roller coasters. And, you know, he did Big Thunder and he did Indiana Jones. Those are two of my favorite rides because they are just they hit the sweet spot of the thrill ride for me. I can go on those, I can enjoy those, and they're amazing. I mean, Indiana Jones is one of the most incredible attractions ever because it's just so immersive and creative, and I wish there were more rides like that, because it's like they always want to have thrill rides, but then there are ones that I can't go on because they're just a little bit too much.
Right.
And like dial it back a little bit and have like animatronics and cool effects like that. And Tony Baxter's also someone I've seen like on lots of things, like being interviewed and stuff. And he's just such a humble, intelligent, you know, nice man. And do you remember the Walt Disney Treasures tins DVD things?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
So on one of them, he's like interviewed and he's talking about this Mary Poppins ride he designed. And I wish that was a real thing because it was incredible. And there was this special called Disneyland People and Places. It was like in the 60s.
I think I remember that one. Yeah.
And there's an audio commentary over the film of him talking, and with all this wealth of information, and it's just so cool. And one of my biggest regrets, sadly, is I saw him. I was sitting down to lunch when I was at the Walt Disney Family Museum, and all of a sudden see him walk by. I'm like, that was Tony Baxter.
Oh my God.
So I was with my parents. So me and my dad literally leapt from our chairs to go find him, and he was already like so far away. We're like, oh, I guess we shouldn't bother him, but we probably could have. He would have talked to us and stuff. Oh, live with that regret every single day, because like I'm probably never gonna get another chance to meet him. I mean, maybe, but
You might,
that would have been incredible.
You might be able to meet him because he's actually at Disneyland quite often. So when you go to the park, keep an eye out. Yeah, I've seen him. I've seen him at Disneyland several times actually, and I also ran into him at IAPA years and years ago with my friend Bruce. But definitely approach him next time. You'll probably see him at the parks. He's there quite a bit, and just say hi. Hey, Tony. He'll talk to you. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think that is hilarious because we did a video before that you brought up your friend Bruce, and he just like came out of nowhere. He just like became part of the conversation. So yeah, shout out to Bruce.
Yeah, Bruce, a little background on Bruce. He is a friend of mine for years. Big Disney fan, older gentleman. I met him at my old job. I mean, this guy was in his like 60s or 70s, and you go into his apartment, it's just covered in Disney stuff everywhere. Okay.
Oh, I love that.
Oh, an amazing guy. We would talk about the parks all the time on the phone. And unfortunately, he did pass away back in 2018, I believe. But Bruce Roberts, good guy and a really passionate fan. But so who's your next Imagineer, Marianne? Or wait, she didn't go yet. Yeah.
So this is one I have a fairly lengthy story about, if that's okay.
Absolutely, go ahead.
Yeah, it's I'm not sure how to Rolly Crump.
Got it.
Rolly or Rolly? I'm not sure how to pronounce his name. I hear it both ways.
Yeah.
So, well, first of all, even if I didn't have the story, I would love him because of the work he did. I mean, some of the things in Disneyland that I love the most are things that he worked on. Haunted Mansion, Tiki Room, Small World. I love those are like my wheelhouse of favorite things at Disneyland. Visually, architecturally, thematically, all that stuff. But he has a connection to my family personally, so.
Interesting.
I don't get to tell the story, and it's pretty cool. So his daughter worked at Robinson's department store. Do you remember Robinson's department store?
I do, and then it became Robinson's May.
Yeah. She worked there with my grandmother, my dad's mom. And she was having like some sort of issue or something with her house, with some security issue. So my grandma's like, why don't you have my son, my uncle, come and take care of it for you? So he goes and he takes care of it for you. And then they start dating.
What?
And so they dated for a little bit. And she just fell in love with, understandably, because my grandparents were wonderful people. She just fell in love with my grandparents. And she's like, I want my parents and your parents to meet. So... yeah, Raleigh and his wife and the daughter, they all came and met my grandparents. And so my dad was there, and my dad's discovered his art talent sort of late in life, but self-taught, and he was in college at the time. And one of the projects he did was like this Disneyland billboard thing. I have it right here. It's like this.
Oh, I love that.
So my dad's like telling Raleigh, my son, he's an artist. You should show him his stuff. So he showed him that. And then he tells my dad, well, you should try to work for Disney. And I'm like, well, he's like, well, yeah, of course I want to work for Disney, because he's a lot like you. He wanted to be an animator, but he just discovered he's just not fast enough. Not that he's not talented, but he just can't work fast enough to be an animator. So he pursued other things. But Fast forward to, so this is a long story. I'm sorry.
You're good.
Fast forward to 2017 when we went to the family museum. We bought this DVD about Raleigh Crump. It was like a documentary about him. And on the back, there's a picture of him with his family. And my dad's like, let me see if I can find his daughter again and like reconnect. And he found her on Facebook. And she was so happy to hear from him. And she's like, my dad's going to have this exhibition of his artwork at this, what was it? I wrote it down. It was called the Oceanside Contemporary Museum of Art. And so we went to that exhibition and we met up with her there and reconnected. And then she invited my dad to go meet with Raleigh at his house.
Wow.
And so he was there for about 2 hours, had a wonderful conversation. They served him lunch. And he just talked all about Walt Disney and his experiences. And it was just amazing. So I printed out the picture so you could see. And
Oh, nice. Oh, that's great.
Nice.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So that he was, I think, 87, I think there. And just a sweet man. I mean, I wish I could have met him, but obviously I get to hear about it. And
Yeah.
just a wonderful person. And so my dad was able to tell him, he's like, thank you. And he's like, well, what for what? Well, you told me I should try to work for Disney. And my dad actually did get to work for Disney briefly in 2004. He connected with this man. So my dad he's done all 178 members of the Breitbart Sports Museum here in San Diego. And this man, his name was John O'Connell. He was doing these like blow up things of like huge, like photos of the artwork for the museum. He worked for this place called Fabrication Arts that did like work for theme parks and stuff. And my dad's like, just joking. Well, if you ever need Mickey Mouse, John, I'm available. But, seriously. So a few years later, he contacted him and says, yes, you want to do this. So my dad got to do the artwork for the Jungle River Cruise, the wait time sign, and then like the big sign above the attraction in Hong Kong Disneyland.
That's amazing. Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, so I got pictures of that too.
Yay. Awesome.
So
Oh, cool.
Wow.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And so he got to, talk with the Imagineers as he was working. He's like, I'm going to make sure I'm on the right track. And he's like telling them, the ship should have a name. All Jungle Cruise ships have a name,
Right.
They didn't tell do that, so they came up with the name. They called it Hyperion Hattie.
Nice.
So yeah, that's him working on it there. He did it in our garage.
Beautiful work. Wow.
It's amazing what you can get done in your garage. A lot of the greats get a lot of stuff done in their garages.
Hey, I think Apple Computer was founded in a garage.
True. And that was just it's special. That was a difficult time for my family. My grandmother, my mom's mom, had just passed away. So it became sort of a labor of love, for putting all his effort into that. And unfortunately, we've never gotten to see it in person, but one of my dad's best friends went there and took a picture of it. And so, yeah, it was like this full circle moment. He's like, yes, I got to work for Disney, just like you said I should.
That's beautiful.
And absolutely. Raleigh Crump's just an amazing human being, and I'm so glad he finally got his window on Main Street. And
yes, yeah. And his contribution to like Haunted Mansion and like Small World. I mean, not Small World. The
Small World, the wind tower thing.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I thought so. I thought the wind tower was Small World because I remember it was at the World's Fair too. So I got kind of confused for a second, but Small World was also at the World's Fair, so that explains it. But Raleigh Crump, an amazing individual. Absolutely. George, who's your next Imagineer?
So my next Imagineer is a guy who had worked at Imagineering for 42 years before he decided to retire. But he's been with the company since he was a teenager. And that would be Kevin Rafferty.
Oh, Kevin Rafferty. Okay, cool.
Kevin Rafferty, you know, started out as a young teenager working at Disneyland, a dishwasher at the Plaza Inn, and eventually worked his way up into Imagineering. Created, not created, worked on, I should say, Toy Story Mania, Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, and of course, alongside with Imagineer Kathy Mangum, that created Cars Land. I mean, like, he and Kathy kind of like alongside working with, you know, John Lasseter and all the other Imagineering team to create like such an ambitious land like Cars Land, I thought was just amazing. And Kevin kind of gave a little piece, and I believe he mentions this on the Imagineering story that's on Disney Plus. If you don't have it, subscribe to it. So that he says to be able to grasp a concept for something that you're working on in the parks, whether it's a land, an attraction, what have you, you should be able to sum up everything in 1 to 2 sentences. 1 to 2 sentences, boom, you should be able to grasp your audience of like basically the whole purpose of what you're doing. He says that if you have to convey your audience in a huge paragraph form of what you're doing, then apparently you're kind of lost in it yourself. And I thought that was very interesting.
That's smart. That's very smart, because it's kind of like social media, right? Like Twitter, for example, right? Like, you want to be concise and to the point, right? Like, a lot of times people will tweet like 6-7 paragraphs, and I'm like, who reads that? No one's going to read that. You know, you want to be able to get your point across effectively with the most concise, you know, maybe a sentence or two. If you're doing 3 and 4 paragraphs, you're losing the audience, you know, basically. And that kind of goes for what you were saying with the attractions and stuff. You want to keep it simple. You want to make it easily digestible. You don't want to kind of like get too wrapped up in like these story knots and this, you know.
Yeah. And after the fact, you know, as I said, he worked 42 years in the company. After he finished up with Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, that's when he decided to retire. And what was so unique about his house, now I don't know if he moved, I doubt it, but the last I heard, the house that he is in, his outdoor balcony, if you were to step out on it, where his outdoor patio is, I guess that's on the upper level, you could actually see the peak of Matterhorn Mountain.
That's great.
So he basically has a bird's eye view into Disneyland, the park that basically shifted his whole career. And to be able to step foot outside and see the top of Matterhorn Mountain from your house, like, that's amazing.
Amazing. Absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. What are your thoughts, Marianne?
Oh, that's someone, again, I wasn't familiar with the name offhand, but sounds like he did amazing work. I love Cars Land. Cars Land's so incredible. One of the coolest things in any theme park ever.
I agree.
And I like Runaway Railway a lot too. That was a fun ride.
Which is kind of a little bit of a funny story, because he was a huge car buff, you know, so that's why he came up with like, okay, we'll do like a drive-in style, you know, because California is known for, you know, the automobiles, you know,
right.
And it's like, so they used artwork from while Cars was being made at Pixar. They went up to the studio and used inspiration from Cars into the artwork in the very early design of what was going to be Carland.
Yeah.
And sure enough, that the art style just stayed. So then when Cars came out and it was a huge success, when they're like, okay, well, we're going to kind of tie this IP together. Well, they didn't have to really change much because the architectural style came from the inspiration from Cars.
Yeah. That's great. That's great. That's great. Now, my Imagineer, this next Imagineer that I'm going to name, it might be a controversial pick, actually. Some people, because not everyone loves her work, which surprises me, because I think she does a fantastic job. But Kim Irvine is my next one. Okay. And the reason why I pick her is because she's done a few projects now, kind of, what's the word for it? Sort of renovating, I guess, or plussing, as they say, is classic attractions and what have you. And Kim Irvine has a knack of being able to take a classic thing and sort of plussing it without losing the integrity of what was there before it. So, for example, she was in charge of Disneyland's castle refurb a few years ago. This is like before the pandy, okay? And I think she did a fantastic job at how she kept the essence of the castle. She didn't change it dramatically, but she added to it with the little stars on the rooftop and the paint scheme and everything. I think it was just a beautiful job at sort of like what's the word for it? Refurbing this icon. Yes, restoration. That's what I was looking for. Thank you, Marianne. This restoration of this classic, piece, and phenomenal job. And the same thing with the recent treehouse at Disneyland in Adventureland. They call it the Adventureland treehouse, inspired by the Swift Family Robinson, which okay. But I think she did a really good job she brought the classic energy and vibe and aesthetics of the old treehouse. But yeah, she took it to the next level with the animatronic ostrich and the new lighting package, amazing work. Another amazing restoration, right? The last thing that I want to point to is Club 33. Big renovation with Club 33. I've been there a few times, and it's absolutely gorgeous what she did with that. Now, I know that a lot of fans sort of get on her because she is connected to a lot of projects where she's touching like classic things. The castle, Club 33, Small World, right? And the stuff. So I know a lot of fans kind of get on her, but I think she does a fantastic job. I really do. I think she respects the history, but she moves it forward as well, right? It's not stagnant. I think she's great. What are your thoughts on Kim Irvine, George?
Yeah, she's definitely one that takes risks, and I commend her for that because, Walt Disney, the man behind risk and imagination, if he didn't take the risks, none of it would actually be there. So I love how she kind of has the mentality to try these gutsy projects. And, I think she knows like that kind of like what she's getting into, as far as like what the fandom goes, like not kind of receiving and praising it.
She talks about that on the Imagineering story. She went through hell. I mean, she was getting, what she was saying, like death threats and stuff.
Death threats. She was getting hate mail. She had a like kind of, I think I had to a point like put a security system in like around her house, like the perimeter of her house or something. That it was just all because of adding Disney characters into It's a Small World, and it's like, and she kind of fought back a little bit to the fans, and honestly I say good for her when she said, the fans, we understand their love and appreciation of these classic attractions, but also at the same time they have to be able to trust us that we love these attractions, we love these characters just as much as they do, and they have to give us a chance before kind of having like a knee-jerk reaction. And she said that right on camera, and I say good for her. And also too, she has a major imprint into the parks, not only because she is Madame Leota in the Haunted Holiday version, but her mother, Leota Toombs, was literally the original Madame Leota, and which I thought is just phenomenal, that every time she took her kids into the Haunted Mansion and they'd pass and see, she's like, there's grandma. And they're looking at like, that's like how is that grandma? Like it's like,
well, and didn't you, I always found it kind of interesting how Leota Toombs, her last name is
Toombs. Yeah.
And she has a special place in the Haunted Mansion tomb. And I always found that kind of clever and cool.
And I don't know if either one of you know, but like at the very end, when you hear the hurry back, that's actually Leota's actual vocals that they used.
Amazing. So, Marianne, are you familiar with Kim Irvine or?
Yeah. And I love her for all the reasons both of you just said. I've seen the Imagineering story, and I did not remember that story about her getting death threats over It's a Small World. I mean,
it's gross.
Get a grip, people.
Yeah, I know, exactly.
And because those additions are cute, and it's not like they disturb the ride. they add it, and it's adding something, but it's like minimal disturbance. It just enhances it and makes it cute. And I had no problem. Sometimes I can be someone who doesn't always like change, but I don't mind changes like that. And all the things she worked on were great. And now, when did she do the Club 33 restoration?
Oh, I don't remember the exact year. If I were to guess, though, if I were to throw it out there, I would say probably 2011-ish, maybe
Oh, okay.
2010-ish, around there. I could be wrong, but it feels like around that time.
Because I was very fortunate that I got to go once, and it was in 2018.
Okay, so
Yeah,
you saw.
So I saw her work. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
no, you
beautiful
definitely
in there.
did.
Yeah, it's beautiful in there.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's
It's
amazing.
so special.
It's great. Yeah, it's a great experience. They have the main restaurant, which is like the 5-course meal, dinner or lunch, whatever. And then they have like this new it's themed to Tiana, actually, the lounge, which actually I like the lounge more than the main restaurant. I know fans will fucking be like, "Oh my gosh," but I do. I like the lounge more, and
I agree with you, actually.
right?
I mean, the restaurant is great, just for the nostalgia of
And
like
the
where it's
history,
at
yeah.
and the history behind it. But I mean, as far as like the food, I don't know, just something about the lounge is it's really cool.
Yeah, and the food, I actually enjoy the food more
It has
too.
like a laid back kind of like it still has like that sophistication, but it kind of has like where you can kind of like have that laid back chill feeling where it's like in the restaurant, I feel like I have that obligation, like I gotta like sit up straight, like prim proper, like
no elbows on the table.
No elbows on the table.
And that's one of the reasons why I also like the sister lounge 1901 at the Carthay, because that has like a whole nother, and I don't know if Kim Irvine was involved in that one. I don't think she was, but that one has like a 1930s kind of like Walt and the Nine Old Men kind of vibe. And that one is a very chill, laid back kind of place too. And I love that one. I love 1901.
Makes me wish I went to the lounge.
The lounge is great. The lounge is great.
Yeah.
But
I enjoyed the dinner. I mean, I don't know any better, obviously.
No, but the food, you can't go wrong. I mean, the food is fantastic.
It was
food's
incredible.
absolutely.
Yeah. We had such a fun cast member so it was for my friend's bachelorette party. One of her friends, her husband's company got us in, basically, is how we got to go. And we were taking pictures outside, like on the balcony, and this guy just kept photobombing all our photos. It was really cute.
That's amazing. Yeah, I had not too long ago, actually. I would say maybe, if I was to guess, maybe 4 or 5 months ago, I was at Club 33 and I went into the bathroom, and in the bathroom was paging Mr. Morrow, washing his hands.
That's so random.
I know. And it was just me and him. And I'm like, Mr. Morrow, what's going on, dude? It was so funny. And by the way, if you ever meet him in the parks, this guy, Paige Mr. Morrow, is the nicest dude on the planet.
Oh, he seems sweet. Yeah.
He really is. And we did a show a few years back, like of who is our top content creator, vlogger in the Disney community, and Paige and Nate is my number one. And we actually tagged him in that video, and he responded back, and I was able to bump into him at the expo. And when I approached him, he had like a little bit of like a shyness to him. And after the fact that I said who I was, and I said that you were my number one choice of like a content creator, he like beamed up like a Christmas tree. Aww. It was like, he was like, "Oh boy, yeah, I know who you are. Nice to meet you." And he started shaking my hand, and like the personality started to come out. But he reminds me of like a giant teddy bear. Like he's like this big guy, but he's like soft on the inside. Like he just has like a gentle soul about him.
Yeah, no, he's great. He's
rocking it. I mean, he got his own clothing line now. He has his own drink after him now. It's like,
this guy's like the Jay-Z of Disney YouTube, man. Own clothing line and everything. It's amazing, No, he's great. Now, we'll go one. Okay, I'll go to George and then Marianne. Then we'll close out the show. But George, you're next. Imagineer.
Absolutely. The last Imagineer I'm going to choose. There was many that I could have picked. I mean, but this is an Imagineer that a lot of people don't know, or maybe know but don't know his name. And I hope I am pronouncing his name correctly. If I don't, please forgive me. Is Wing Chao.
Oh,
And a lot of people don't really know him, but he is an American-born Chinese hospitality master planner. He started in the company of Disney in 1972, and he worked in the Walt Disney Parks and Resorts division for basically all the parks around the world. He basically had his hands in everything, and he also did a lot of architecture for the Disney Cruise Line, for the Disney cruise ships.
wow.
And he became a Disney legend and what have you. And he was one that was part of the whole conception of the color scheme to the cruise ships, of how it was based off of the colors of Mickey Mouse. And that they wanted the lifeboats to be, because like for Mickey Mouse's shoes, yellow, but the Coast Guard like obviously wouldn't allow it. They have to have like a certain color, I guess, to meet the code. And they went to the Coast Guard's like, can we do like an off kind of yellowish, type of thing? And the Coast Guard, they show them the different like color schemes, and the Coast Guard said this particular color was acceptable for it. So that's why, we still we're like the only cruise line that actually have those yellow lifeboats, because of the color scheme for Mickey Mouse.
That's incredible. Now, full disclosure, to be completely honest, I'm not familiar with that gentleman. I take that back. What did he make an appearance on Mandalorian? A cameo.
You know what? I think he did.
Right?
I think he did, because I thought he did an interview and he said, I did a brief cameo.
I thought it was him. It was an episode of Mando. It was like a cameo. It was an Imagineer, and I think it was gentleman's name is Wing Chao, right?
Yeah, Wing Chao.
I believe it is. I'll have to. I don't hold me to it. I'm not 100% sure. I'll look after the show, but I think he did make a cameo on Mando. But
I had to bring him up because really quick. I had to bring him up because, again, a lot of these like big name people, obviously in the Disney community, we know, and I wanted to bring up an Imagineer that had a major impact on the company, that has done a lot of great work. But a lot of times, again, the work, but sometimes you don't know the person behind the work. And it's like, I wanted to definitely showcase him because he's done an amazing work. As I said, American Chinese born architecture in hospitality, master planning. Like, this guy has done it all.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. Now, Marianne, are you familiar with this gentleman, or are you like me?
No, I don't know him at all.
Yeah. That's okay. Yeah, I wasn't, and George, you said a lot of people aren't aware of him, but the contribution for what he did for the cruise ships alone, that's wild, and the cruise ships are just such a gem of the Walt Disney Company. I'm
looking right now. I am going to confirm to you, OG, you are correct. He had a cameo in The Mandalorian as Governor Wing.
I knew it. I remember there was an Imagineer who made a cameo, and I thought it was him. But okay, cool, very cool guy. I like him. I got to name more.
I want to go on a Disney cruise so much.
Oh, Mary, I'm telling you, it is. I was not expecting how good it was going to be. I really loved it. I fell in love with it. It's expensive though. It's something that it's hard to be addicted to because it's so pricey. But if you can at least do it at least once, try to do. I mean, it's an incredible experience.
But of course, my answer to everything, OG, like to that point, that it's so expensive. It's like, how many times can you do it? Again, that's why I only have one kidney.
Right,
so.
exactly. Now, Marianne, who is your last and final Imagineer for this evening?
Well, I wrote down two more people, and they technically are not Imagineers.
Oh, okay.
I wrote down Richard Sherman, well, like the Sherman brothers, specifically Richard Sherman and Don Hahn.
Oh, great choices. Great. I
because
mean,
of personal experiences with both of them. So, well, staying on the Disney cruise topic. So I haven't gone on any cruises, but my parents have gone on a couple Disney cruise, and the first one they went on was in 2005, and it was a 7-day cruise, and Richard Sherman was on the cruise performing.
oh my
I
gosh.
mean, they don't do things like that anymore at all.
No.
And when I found that out, I must have turned like bright green, like with envy. I mean, because the Sherman Brothers created some of the most beautiful, amazing, catchy, classic songs ever. Besides, like Macon and Ashman, the Sherman Brothers are like the most popular songwriters for Disney. And
Really quick, Marianne, I'm so
oh,
sorry to
sure.
interrupt you. I just have to ask you: have you been to any of the D23 events, like Destination D
I
or
went to
anything?
23 once for one day in 2019.
Okay. The reason why I ask is because it's funny that you were bringing up the story of Richard Sherman
Mhm.
on the cruise ship, because I was at a D23 event and I was in line for something, and I was speaking to a woman who was telling me the story about Richard Sherman on a cruise. And what's
Oh,
actually interesting is you fit her description.
hmm.
But I don't know if you ever told the story before or not, but
Oh,
it's
well, I don't know. I can't remember. Maybe I did. I don't have no
that was
memory of
interesting. I mean, it's just interesting because if it's true, then you and I met without actually meeting, like crossing, because literally she was telling me of how Richard Sherman was on a cruise ship.
Hmm.
She found out about
I'm
she found
trying
out
to
about it
trying to
and was
remember how many people
jealous.
I talked to. I was by myself,
And I was by myself for that.
and just sort of walking around. I'm trying to remember how many people I talked to. Not that many. Maybe we did. Isn't that funny? But I can't remember.
That's
Yeah, like I
wild.
can't like pick it. Like I would have obviously said, like, you look familiar, like I think we talked before, but it didn't like strike me until you
That's
started
so
telling the
weird.
story, and it like rang a light bulb in my head, and I'm thinking, okay, this is like not weird, like bad weird, but I'm like, it's
Yeah,
something, because I had a conversation with someone about the same exact story,
it's
and you
funny.
fit the description of the person that I was talking to.
It might have been. Wouldn't
Maybe
that
I
be
don't
funny
know.
if
But
that? Wow.
he he played like this like retrospective thing of songs and stuff. And afterwards, my parents were on the cruise with like their best friends, and my dad and his friend, they went up to him afterwards and got to talk to him for like 15 minutes, and like no one else even tried to do that, but they got like a picture with them. So there's like a
Oh
Nice.
gosh, that's amazing.
I love, like, with every story you have like a
I
piece of like
yeah, I told
memorabilia
you
and
I had
history
visual
to it.
aids.
That's
Yeah.
perfect. I love
That
it.
is so
I
good.
love it. Well,
Absolutely.
speaking of that, you mentioned Richard Sherman. I have a little bit of a funny story because he came down for Destination D as part of Walt Disney World's 40th, back in 2011. And I attended that event. And normally they where I was sitting, because it was like a first come first serve basis, which obviously they don't do anymore. That I was able to get in the front rows, and here's Richard sitting with his wife Elizabeth in the center. Now, normally a person would just turn and look and say, "Oh, cool! Like there's Richard Sherman and his wife." Me, do I do that? No, not my style. I like start like shuffling myself through the line of people that are already sitting beside me, and I'm like doing this classic, like, excuse me, pardon me, excuse me, pardon me, like I'm just like going through, and like people are just like looking at me, and I had to approach him, and I said, I'm so very sorry. I know you're probably sick and tired of people approaching you, but I just have to. I said, I just have to shake your hand. I'm a huge fan of you and your brother's work. the contribution you did to the company, yada yada yada. He was very nice, very gracious, and I then I shook his wife's hand. I said, and Elizabeth, very nice to meet you. And knowing Richard without missing a beat, he said, I'm impressed that you not to the fact you knew who I was, but the fact that you knew my wife. And he was just like very snappy and very witty. And he was a really great guy. And I'm so glad that I had the opportunity to meet him, shake his hand, meet his wife, and then actually got to watch him perform on stage.
Wow.
That was the final part of the event to close it out.
Well, just to explain just how nice he is. So my dad gave him this little like business card with his artwork. It's artwork of Babe Ruth. And Richard Sherman's like, oh, this is incredible. This is amazing. I know exactly where I'm going to put this. I'm going to put this in my living room on this front table. I mean,
that's incredible. That is absolutely incredible.
Not everyone does things like that. That's just so sweet. And, and then I'll just briefly say the other person I mentioned was Don Hahn, because he was another one that I had the opportunity. I got to interview him on the phone. And
nice.
So I just, doing this made me finally pull that audio. I had it on like a little like mini recorder.
Oh, nice.
So I pulled the audio on my phone and then I put it on YouTube. So that's on my YouTube now. And he was so gracious and so wonderful, and just a lovely person. And you can tell, how you can tell how intelligent someone is when they talk.
Yeah.
And he's just, obviously very talented, and he's a producer, but he's like a creative producer,
right?
Nice.
Well, hey, Beauty and the Beast. I mean, that's my favorite Disney animated movie, and I mean, incredible talent, Disney legend,
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Did you see the thing on Disney Plus with him? I was behind the scenes of the archives, and he was like the host.
I have, yeah. That was.
You should watch that. That's
great.
Okay, I'll check it out. Well, is that the one with Kevin Feige's in that one too, right? He talks about some of his favorite stuff as well, I believe, in that one.
I'm trying to remember. Maybe, I don't know. It was a kind of a fluff, a little bit of a fluff piece.
Okay.
But it was cute. I mean, it was like compared to like Waking Sleeping Beauty, which is more like less sugar coated and stuff. It was real kind of cute, but it was enjoyable. I liked it. Yeah.
Okay, I'll check it out for sure. Marianne, it is always a pleasure having you on. We will have you on again very, very soon. Absolutely. So I'll link everything. I'll link all her socials, her social media, and her YouTube down in the description. Make sure you follow and support her. She is amazing. Marianne, if you could remind everybody where they can find you on social media.
You could find me on Twitter at the Girly Nerd and on Instagram at the Girly Nerd blog.
There you go. So make sure you follow her on both of those platforms and check out her YouTube. And George the Italiano, if you can remind everybody where they can find you on social media, sir.
Absolutely. You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You could also find me on Instagram under the Disney Italiano. And of course, you'll find me here on my home base at Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info.
There it is. Comment down below with all your thoughts. Who are your favorite Disney artists, animators? Who are your favorite Disney Imagineers? We would love to hear your favorites. Comment those down below in the comment section. Thank you all so much for watching this episode of OG55, and have a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye-bye, everybody.